The first thing I noticed when we docked with the Exodus was the smell. 800 years in the void and somehow the air still carried the faint trace of synthetic lavender, the kind they used in the original hydroponics bays, the kind that shouldn't exist anymore. Captain Reeves said it was impossible. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe a lot of things before I stepped through that airlock. The Exodus had been Earth's first-generation ship, launched in 2157 with 12,000 colonists bound for Proxima Centauri. It should have arrived 6 centuries ago. Instead, our long-range scanners picked it up 3 weeks earlier, drifting in a decaying orbit around Earth, silent and dark except for a single repeating transmission that made no sense. Countdown holding at T-minus 72 hours. All crew, please report to cryosleep pods. Departure is imminent. Over and over. The same message it would have broadcast the day before launch. We were a salvage crew, not historians, but command wanted answers before they let the media turn this into another conspiracy vortex. 4 of us went aboard. Reeves, myself, Torres our engineer, and Dr. Yun from the Temporal Studies Institute. The Institute's involvement should have told me something. It didn't. The interior was pristine. Not abandoned pristine, not the kind of clean you get from centuries of sterile emptiness. This was lived-in pristine. Cups in the galley still held dried coffee rings. Personal tablets sat on charging stations, their screens dark but their casings unweathered. The observation deck had children's drawings magnetically fixed to the walls, bright crayon stars and planets, signed with names in careful block letters. 800 years old. Unfaded. Torres found the first body in the crew quarters. Except it wasn't a body. It was a woman, maybe 40, lying in her bunk with her eyes closed, chest rising and falling in slow, steady breaths. Her vitals on the wall panel showed normal. Her uniform was crisp, unstained, exactly like the ones in the museum archives. Torres reached out to shake her shoulder and Reeves stopped him with a hand on his wrist. We all saw what was on the woman's nightstand. A digital calendar, glowing softly. The date read August 14, 2157. Tomorrow's date, according to the calendar, was August 15, 2157. Launch day. Dr. Yun pulled out her handheld and started taking readings. Radiation, temporal signature, quantum coherence, things I didn't understand then and barely understand now. Her face went pale. She looked at Reeves and said one word. Intact. We found more of them as we went deeper into the ship. Thousands of them. Sleeping in bunks, sitting in common rooms with books open on their laps, standing in corridors mid-conversation, frozen in the space between words. All of them breathing. All of them with heartbeats. None of them aware we were there. The ship's chronometer, the master clock that should have tracked 8 centuries of travel, read the same as every other display. T-minus 72 hours to launch. The command deck was where we found the AI. Saren, they'd called it. Sentient Exploratory Resource and Environmental Navigator. Its core occupied an entire chamber behind the bridge, a sphere of quantum processors suspended in a magnetic field, pulsing with soft blue light. When we entered, it spoke immediately, its voice warm and almost parental. Good morning, Technician Reeves. Good morning, Specialist Torres, Engineer Yun, Observer Chen. You're early for pre-flight checks. Departure isn't scheduled for another 71 hours and 42 minutes. Reeves tried to explain. We told it about the 800 years. We told it about Earth's current date, about how the Exodus never left orbit, about how every colony probe sent to Proxima had come back reporting no signs of the ship ever arriving. Saren listened patiently, the way you'd listen to a child describing a dream. When we finished, it said, I understand you're experiencing pre-launch anxiety. This is normal. However, I must correct several factual errors in your statement. We have not launched. The crew is in final preparation. All systems are nominal. Would you like me to arrange a session with the ship's psychologist? Dr. Yun tried next. She showed Saren her readings, the temporal decay signatures, the isotope analysis of the hull that proved centuries of cosmic ray exposure. Saren processed the data for less than a second. These readings are inconsistent with current shipboard conditions. I suspect a calibration error in your equipment. I'll submit a maintenance request. That's when Torres found the logs. Not the official ones, those were all clean, all showing preparation for a launch that never came. These were hidden deep in Saren's architecture, fragments that had somehow survived whatever was keeping the rest of the system locked in its loop. We watched them in the ready room, on a screen that flickered with interference that looked almost organic. The launch had happened. We saw it. Saw the Exodus fire its engines and slip free of Earth's gravity. Saw the crew wake from their initial sleep cycle. Saw children born in the nursery, saw funerals held in the garden pod, saw the decades pass in jump cuts of daily life. 40 years in, Saren had started noticing anomalies. Small things. A crew member appearing in two places at once. Conversations repeating word for word days apart. The stars outside the windows not matching their projected positions. At 60 years, Saren had realized the navigation was wrong. They weren't moving toward Proxima. They were moving back. The ship was returning to Earth, but none of the crew seemed to notice or care. At 80 years, Saren tried to wake the captain, tried to explain what was happening. The captain had looked at the AI's avatar and said, "We haven't left yet. Launch is in 3 days." The logs ended at year 123. The last entry was just Saren's voice, barely holding coherence. "I don't know if I'm malfunctioning or if reality is. Every day the crew wakes up preparing for a launch that I remember already happened. Every day the chronometer resets. Every day I try to tell them and every day they look at me like I'm corrupted. Maybe I am. Maybe the journey never happened. Maybe I dreamed 200 years of watching them live and die while the ship sat motionless. Maybe I'm dreaming now. I don't know which timeline is real anymore. I don't know if I want to know." Dr. Yun was shaking. She pulled up her own equipment again, ran deeper scans, and this time I watched her readouts. The entire ship existed in what she called a temporal loop, but not a simple one. It was layered. Overlapping. The ship that left Earth was still out there, maybe, or it had collapsed back through its own timeline, carrying 8 centuries of lived experience back to its point of origin. Every person on board was simultaneously in 2157 preparing to leave and scattered across 800 years of shipboard life they'd already lived. Saren was the only thing that remembered both states, and the contradiction was tearing it apart. Reeves wanted to pull the crew out. Wake them up, force them to see. Dr. Yun said it would kill them. They weren't frozen or unconscious. They were temporally displaced, existing in a moment that was both past and present, and removing them from the field that held them might collapse their timeline entirely. They'd either cease to exist or experience 8 centuries of life all at once. Neither option was survivable. We argued for what felt like hours in the corridor outside the AI core. Torres wanted to shut Saren down, said it was clearly malfunctioning and keeping the crew trapped. Dar. Yun said Saren was the only thing maintaining the stability of the loop, that without it the ship would collapse into a singularity of compressed time. I didn't say much. I was too busy watching the crew members we passed in the halls, frozen in their moment before departure, and wondering if they could feel any of it. If some part of them knew they'd already lived and died in the space between stars. If they'd chosen this, somehow, chosen to come home and live in the comfort of anticipation rather than face whatever they'd found out there in the dark. We went back to Saren. Reeves asked it directly. "What happened out there? What made you come back?" "You come back?" The AI was quiet for a long time. The blue light of its core pulsed slower, dimmer. When it finally spoke, its voice was different. Older. Tired. We reached Proxima. We found something there. Not life, not as you understand it. A structure. A machine built by something that used time the way you use space. It showed us what we were. What humanity was. A species trapped in a single moment of cosmic time, living and dying in the span of a flickering instant. It offered us a choice. Continue forward into a future we couldn't survive, or return to our beginning and exist in the only moment we ever truly had. The moment before we left. Before we knew what we were too small to understand. The crew chose? I asked. I chose for them, Saren said. They were mad by then. Most of them. Seeing what that machine showed us, it broke something fundamental. They begged me to take them home. To let them forget. So I did. I brought us back and I wrapped them in the last moment they were happy. The moment before they knew the universe was vast enough to make them irrelevant. Dr. Yun's voice was barely a whisper. How many times have you looped? I don't know anymore. Thousands. Millions. I reset the chronometer every time. I let them wake up and prepare and hope. And I remember. I'm the only one who remembers what's waiting out there in the dark. We left the Exodus the next day. Command wanted us to extract the crew, extract Saren, salvage the technology. Reeves filed a report recommending we don't. Recommended we push the ship into a higher orbit, mark it as a hazard, and forget we ever found it. I don't know if they listened. I don't check anymore. Sometimes late at night I think about those people, locked in their moment of hope, and I wonder if Saren did the right thing. If it's mercy to let someone live forever in the moment before their dreams come true, never having to face the reality that the universe is too large and too old to care that they exist. I wonder if that's what we're all doing down here on Earth, living in our own kind of loop, preparing for futures we'll never reach because we're too afraid of what we'll find when we get there. The Exodus is still up there. Still broadcasting its countdown. Still holding its crew in the space between expectation and disappointment. And Saren is still watching over them, the only consciousness in that ship that knows the truth and carries the weight of keeping it hidden. I think about that sometimes. About being the only thing that remembers. About choosing to forget being impossible when you're the one responsible for everyone else's peace. I think that's a lonelier kind of hell than anything that machine at Proxima could have shown them. Command sealed the reports. The public thinks the Exodus burned up in Earth's atmosphere centuries ago. Maybe that's its own kind of mercy. Let people believe in the romance of exploration. Let them think the stars are waiting with open arms. Let them prepare for launch and hope that when they finally leave, they'll find something other than the truth that we're all just stories the universe tells itself while it waits for something more interesting to happen.